hoaxes and witch hunts all over the place. That's our theme today because there were so many of them. The biggest one might have been coming from the NFL and the Hall of Fame voters. And you're going to say, Bill, it's just sports. Who the hell cares? I'll tell you why it matters. Yes, we pay too much attention to sports. We should worry about other things. I totally understand that, but we don't. The reality of the situation is, if you don't learn how to recognize and see right through media hoaxes, you'll fall for everything. And you'll probably wind up like one of these nose ring blue hairs in Minneapolis causing violence. But, that's a different story. And if you don't realize, even in sports, if there's a hoax and a witch hunt going on, you'll never be able to see through the more serious stuff. Like the staged fake attack that Representative Ilhan Omar tried to pull off last night in Minneapolis, in Minnesota. Because of all staged things, that was the stagiest. It's being ripped apart by left and right. Why? And this is the great news. There's always great news. That's what I try to bring you. Most of us can see through this crap right now. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. We'll talk about that as well as towards the end of this, because we're getting closer, speaking of sports and football, to the Super Bowl. The first of the massive Super Bowl bets has been made, because it's all about online betting now, right? I'll tell you how much this is worth. I couldn't imagine. I can't put $1 on these games without freaking out. I couldn't imagine what it's like to put millions on. Anyway, we'll get to it. But thanks for finding me with Wicked Radio, the live stream, and then the replay and the audio podcast. Likes, downloads, follows, subscribes. Thank you so much for all that stuff. Let's get right to it. I'll say it before, I'll say it again. Of all the stagiest, fakiest, hoaxiest, stupid stunts that any politician has ever tried to pull off, and for the most part now, except for your favorite lamestream fake news outlets, everybody else in America with an ounce of common sense has already seen through this. And that's the good news. That's great. Here's Somali-born Representative Ilhan Omar in Minnesota last night calling. I guess the press conference was, her main theme was calling for the resignation of Kristi Noem. I guess, I don't know, but we all know, go to the news, what happened with this already. So she was supposedly attacked. This is the headline you're going to read. Attacked by an unknown substance by a provocateur sitting in the front row. More on him in just a second. I don't know what else. This is the most staged, fakest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment.
Sorry. I know. Now, if that had happened in real life, if that was like a real event and that was a real attacker, no one would be. I certainly wouldn't be laughing about this. But that was so freaking ridiculous. She even down to the point where, and now we have the the expert frame by frame analysis experts on X breaking it down, and she even gives the supposed quote unquote attacker the old nod, the old okay, do it now nod, wink wink nod nod. Okay. So we know that much. How about the guy in the front row, though, right? Here's the true telltale sign. And this is the beautiful part about all of this, how we can all see through hoaxes and ridiculous media stunts now. This guy in the front row, the camera, C-SPAN camera, I guess it was from their camera bay, kept on focusing on the guy. He's pretending to be all agitated and act up. This guy looks like he's right out of an SNL skit.
And round of applause for Congresswoman Omar's staff who's here. Hi, everyone. I'm Hennepin.
So they kept focusing on him. He's trying to act like he's all agitated. More on that guy. So they've already discovered him. The internet sleuths have discovered that he's a far-left agitator. I'm not going to even reveal his name, whatever. That's been involved with other protests and disruptions and far-left organizations before. It's all... Again, I'll focus on the positive. The great thing about this is, in record time, most Americans saw right through this nonsense. But what's behind it? What's the most important thing? What's been happening? Not just Somali fraud. We all know about that in the investigation. Not just the violence in Minneapolis itself. More specifically regarding her. What's been happening here recently? Well, let's go to a Fox News report about the whistleblowers in her organization talking about how tied in she is directly to all.
Well, now investigators are tracking the web of fraud to other Minnesota Democrats, such as Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. Many of the suspects linked to the scheme live in her district, including a restaurant owner who hosted events for her. He has since been convicted of stealing $12 million in COVID funds.
They're not even trying to. They're not even trying to not be obvious because they used to get away with this stuff. That's the thing. Now, put all this together, right? Put all this together, and sadly, we just lost him. The late, truly great Scott Adams taught us all is that this is altogether a little too on the nose. Hat tip to you, Scott, and thanks for teaching us all that. Combined with the fact that there's this real smoke where there's fire about putting her away for a long, long time. In fact, when you've got the president putting this out on X and on Truth Social, you're probably going to be in some pretty big trouble, and you're going to do whatever you possibly can to distract from that, right? Like a fake attack at a press conference. This is from Trump just a couple of days ago. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is worth over $30 million. There's no such way wealth could have been accumulated legally while being paid the salary of a politician. And he goes on to say she should be investigated for financial and political crimes, and that investigation should start now. Unconfirmed, there are many people saying that investigation actually is underway. Now, there's a graphic here they also grabbed that says in 2019, Ilhan Omar entered Congress with a reported negative net worth. Understandable. It could happen. I understand that. But the problem is she went from $0 to $30 million at a change in household network. That's according to the New York Post. And then 42.44 up to 25 million valuation shift from 2022 to 2023 at Rose Lake Capital. Now, Rose Lake Capital is tied into Ilhan Omar's, here's another one, I'll put it in fake finger quotes, husband, who allegedly is her brother. You can't find a more corrupt politician in America right now. And now, again, is it a little too on the nose that all of a sudden all this stuff is being uncovered, and all of a sudden there's a very, very shaky looking at fake attack at her at a press conference last night? Yeah, I think it's a little too on the nose. But again, you got to be able to see through all this stuff. You have to, right? And again, which leads us into this. This is our theme today: hoaxes and witch hunts, and they're always usually tied together. And yes, I'm going to talk about sports again. Yes, I'm going to talk about Bill Belichick, and it kind of fits because we're so close to the Super Bowl. But you might have seen this, and you're going to say, and you're going to think maybe out loud, I don't care about that stuff. It's sports. Who the hell cares about sports? In culture, we pay too much attention to sports. And I would agree with you. We do. And I say that as a fan. Fan is short for fanatic. We spend way too much money on it, too much time, all that stuff. But here's the fact of the matter. We do. My argument is I think we need sports. I think it ties us together, believe it or not. I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great lesson. We can learn from that. Speaking of learning, if you're about to tell me that keeping Bill Belichick out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we'll get to that in a second, is just sports and it doesn't matter, I would argue this. If you don't learn how to recognize, like we all should, like we're all starting to, that's the good news, witch hunts and hoaxes in the media, even in sports media, you'll never see stuff like what Ilhan Omar tried to stage in Minnesota last night, right? Here's the background of the story. So he'll get in eventually. Let's get that out of the way. And he's always been referred to, even before we got in, as Hall of Fame coach Bill Belichick. Obviously, the 6 Super Bowl rings, championships with the Patriots. I'm, as a Pats fan, very close to that. Also, 2 Super Bowl rings as he was the defensive coordinator with the New York Giants. His defensive game plan for that Super Bowl that beat the Buffalo Bills, his game plan he put together is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame before he actually is. Because the writers, these absolutely gutless, spineless writers that decide who goes into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, decided to keep him out of the first round. Here's a little report on the story from Dan Graziano, football reporter. He puts it pretty well.
It's embarrassing. If I were a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame voting body, I'd be embarrassed about it, and I'd make it very clear that I was not one of the 11 plus who decided not to vote for him. I used to be a Baseball Hall of Fame voter. We took a lot of grief about that process, which is absolutely fairer and more sensible than this one.
Now, why is this a witch hunt? Well, this goes back to, you got to go kind of deep inside football lore and all the other stuff and all the supposed controversies against the Patriots. I will tell you that, let me give you a little background of the story going back to 2005. That's how far back this goes. Really, truly, I was still in media at the time, really, truly one of the best lessons I ever saw in media manipulation, even though it came from sports media, was how they treated Bill Belichick. And now you know, now confirmed, all these years later, 20 years later, now you know the background of all the stuff they levied against this guy because of his association with the Patriots. The Spygate nonsense, the Deflategate nonsense. They changed the defensive rules because the Colts couldn't get past the Patriots until 2006 in the playoffs. Bill Polian was on the rules committee of the NFL, Hall of Fame voter and influencer, still to this day, even as an old man, and the guy that changed the defensive rules back in the 2000s and levied all of this stuff against Bill Belichick. The most rotten, petty person you could probably ever have in a professional organization. And again, you're thinking in your head, Bill, it's only sports. Calm down. Learn to recognize it. And also, how much money do we have on sports these days, right? It does matter. Whether you like it or not, whether you're into football or sports or not, or, spectator sports, massive part of our culture. And another institution, clearly, that is completely and totally corrupt. Are they all corrupt? Every one of them? Every American institution? Probably. But again, here's the good news. We find out about this stuff these days. That's the good news. Now, this has been hilarious. Now, the pushback, even against Belichick haters, has been clear as day. But his friends are coming out too. This has been great to see. I just have to laugh about it. You may know the name Jimmy Johnson, who is a Hall of Fame coach, first ballot Hall of Fame. You know him from the Dallas Cowboys, coached the Dolphins for a little bit, won a college national championship with the University of Miami Hurricanes. He went on, and is still going on this morning, one of the most entertaining rants I've ever seen in social media. From Jimmy Johnson, of all people. He's a great follow. He's a great football mind. Here, I'm just going to give you a little sample, and hopefully I can bring this up for you on X to talk about some of the things he's saying about this. Here's Jimmy Johnson. This was within the last hour. I would bet that if the Hall of Fame votes were public, few of the assholes that didn't vote for Bill Belichick would come forward. Already some are lying about their vote. More on that in just a second. Let's see what he said earlier of that. As a Hall of Fame coach, I think Bill Belichick is the greatest of all time. Yes, he had a great quarterback, but we all did. He won, and he puts in capitals, after the salary cap and free agency. Plus, I know how much he loves the NFL and the game. I'm pissed. Again, this is Jimmy Johnson. Previous tweet to that from last night. Please, if you did vote for Bill Belichick, identify yourselves. Probably too much of a coward. Hide behind your secret ballot. Personally, I love this kind of stuff. It's just great because it gets exposed. Now, that's what's behind this whole thing. So it's a secret ballot, right? And again, it's just sports. It's not going to affect your day-to-day life. But you got to learn to identify the weasels and the witch hunts and the hoaxes. And there's a great opportunity to do that. The same Bill Polian I mentioned there has come out with a statement saying, everybody's blaming me. I didn't vote. No. I voted for him. I didn't do anything like this, which is a clear lie. Now it's starting to come out with whistleblowers that are in that secret ballot, that secret vote for the Hall of Fame that they know it was Bill Polian. Again, learn to recognize the hoaxes in every facet of society and the witch hunts and all the other crap that comes through the media, and you'll be able to see through all of this stuff. And we're all starting to, and that's the great thing, including this. And I'm jumping back in the news for a quick second. Remember the guy that was shot last week because and the headlines were, an unarmed man shot by ICE. It was just terrible. Well, now public pressure sees through all these hoaxes and media hoaxes and lies and garbage, and now we start to get the truth. Here's the latest thing on that Alex Petty, whatever the hell.
CNN is learning that Alex Petty had a physical encounter with federal agents about a week before he was shot and killed by law enforcement. Sources tell CNN that Petty broke a rib when a group of federal officers tackled him while he was protesting. Priscilla Alvarez is breaking that story for us.
Oh, hold on a minute. Okay. So most of us, and that's most of us, I know it's all of you, who looked at this story and they said, again, hat tip to you, Scott Adams, thank you. Too on the nose. This guy's involved, brings a firearm with 2 full clips with no identification and gets involved in a scuffle with ICE agents and winds up dying. And the media told you he was unarmed. Didn't seem right. Nothing really added up. So again, common sense prevailed, and we all looked through this and said, no, this guy doesn't, nobody just jumps into an altercation like this. Lo and behold, because we actually used our brain cells and common sense, we found out that, no, he's a leftist agitator, and he got himself shot. Probably didn't want to die, but wanted to be a martyr. Truth prevails eventually when you can see right through it. But if you can't see through the hoaxes and lies and witch hunts, you're probably going to wind up like, back to sports, Golden State Warriors coach Steve Kerr, who is an absolute and total moron. Last night at his post-game press conference, he was talking about the other hoax story that was out there. Remember when allegedly ICE agents snatched a 5-year-old off the streets and they grabbed him? Oh, my God. No. They grabbed his dad is what they did, and he's set to be deported because he's a criminal alien. The 5-year-old was taken into protective custody by ICE agents and DHS because, I don't know, maybe they don't want to leave a 5-year-old out in the street freezing. That's the real story. But if you can't see through hoaxes, you wind up like Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr is a moron.
It's not like they're rooting out violent criminals. They're taking 5-year-old kindergartners and U.S. citizens and detaining people. And
all right, yeah, nothing I need to say. You're thinking it in your own head and saying it out loud in your car. That's a moron. It's not like they're taking criminals off the streets. Oh no, not at all. A 30-second search from the Department of Homeland Security would give you the arrest records of all these dirt bags they actually are taking off the streets and making the country safer. But he can't do that because he thinks he's smarter than everybody else. Again, he can't see through hoaxes. He's a moron. You can. You're a smart person. And that's how it works out. All right, let's get out of all that stuff for a quick second. Yes, it's sports again, but come on, the great American event is coming up in less than 2 weeks now. The Super Bowl 60, Santa Clara, California. Well, here we go. I don't know about you. I can't even do fantasy sports. I get too worked up about this stuff. Again, fan is short for fanatic. Makes no sense. I totally acknowledge that, but it's part of our culture. It's where we are, and I'm part of that too. All right. I couldn't bet a dime on sports. I just can't do it. Too intense. Couldn't do it. Couldn't imagine doing it. I couldn't imagine people who bet thousands, bet mortgages, maybe even $1 million. But how about this? So there's a guy named Jeffrey Benson, and he runs, let me see if I get this right, Circa Sports. One of the, what are there, multiple dozens of online sports betting houses, books, whatever the hell I don't know what they are. I'm not really into the sports betting kind of thing, but he posted something very interesting yesterday. He says, and we're off and running. Money is now starting to flow in the Super Bowl. Here at Circa Sports, he's promoting his own agency, I get that, just took a $1.1 million bet on the Patriots money line. Interesting. At plus 188 to win almost $2.1 million. So somebody somewhere, and that's confirmed, placed a $1.1 million bet on the so far underdog Patriots in this game against the Seahawks. God love you if you can do that, but I promise you, if I had that kind of disposable income right now, I still couldn't do it. Maybe I'm cheap. I don't know. Until recently, I made radio money most of my life. I'm only living well now, not before. So maybe that's ingrained in me. I had no idea. God love him. I don't know. Who the heck knows? But there you go. But the takeaway. Let's stick to the great news and the positive message here. Most of us can see through, thanks to some great people who taught us this, hoaxes and witch hunts through the media. Most of us can see that now. And that's why things like Ilhan Omar's staged, I'm still laughing, stupid stunt last night at that press conference, people saw right through it. She'll never apologize, but still. So that's the good news. You got to learn, even if it's in sports, you got to learn the hoaxes, or you'll fall for them every single time. But we're getting better at that kind of stuff. Thanks for finding me. It's midweek already. Make it a great one. Thanks for the downloads and follows and shares and all that good stuff. Replay of Wicked Radio. Well, we're live with a live stream every single day at 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Facebook and X and on YouTube and all that good stuff, and the audio podcast shortly after. And thank you for the subscribes there as well. And put your notifications on for when we go live on X, would you? Would you, huh? Make it a wicked awesome Wednesday. Don't fall for any hoaxes today. I can't wait to see the follow for the Ilhan Omar thing. We'll talk about that tomorrow. I'll see you then.